We are quite literally killing ourselves with comfort. Many of the conditions and diseases I see, both physical health and mental health, are caused by an excess of comfort. So today, if you want to thrive, if you want to be resilient, you have to intentionally introduce discomfort into your life. So in this video, I want to share with you the uncomfortable truth about life and show you how you can live longer, healthier, and happier. Now, you've got to understand that we're wired for comfort as humans. Life used to be uncomfortable, so we tried to make things easier. But the problem is, I would say in the last 50 years, something has changed in society. Before that, our desire for comfort was helping us. Now we've got to a point where comfort is killing us. Just think about what you can do today that you couldn't do in the past. You could be sitting at home on your sofa watching television. And at the same time, you could go to an app on your phone and order some fast food delivery. You could do your shopping. We can even socialize with friends, all from the comfort of our chair. And for all of that, you don't actually have to leave your house. That's a life of comfort that actually ends up being a life of discomfort, but the wrong kind of discomfort. The discomfort that comes when you're ill, when you're in pain, when your health is deteriorating, when you can't do the things that you want to do. That's a different form of discomfort. Let's just think about what we had to do in the past to get by. In order to simply survive and be, you had to do things that today we would consider uncomfortable. I mean, you literally had to go out, acquire food, bring the food back, cook it, and then consume it. You couldn't be sedentary and sit on that sofa for the entire day. You just couldn't do it. You had to move your body. So today, you have to intentionally introduce discomfort into your life. The most helpful method I've found about introducing discomfort regularly is to create some rules around discomfort. Now, the incredible thing about rules is that they help to automate our behavior. So if you make a rule and say, I'm always going to do this in this situation, you don't have to think about it every time. So I'll give you an example from my own life. I introduced this rule, I would guess about 5 years ago. And the rule is this: always take the stairs. It was a really powerful rule because it means that my default becomes I take the stairs. In my local supermarket, if I drive there, which I often do, right? I have a rule that I always take the stairs. So I don't take the elevator. I don't take the lift. It's a rule that I apply in my life. When I'm at an airport, I will never take the escalator. I will always take the stairs, even if I've got bags with me. When I check into a hotel, I'll always look for the stairs instead of taking the elevator. Now, I say always. Let me be clear what I mean by that. I don't always take the stairs 100% of the time, but by making that a rule, I would guess that 90 to 95% of the time I do. My default becomes taking the stairs. And I can bet you, if I didn't have a rule in place that I'd internalized, the percentages would be way different. If I had to ask myself every time there's stairs and a lift, which one am I going to take? What do I feel like taking today? And the stairs is not going to win it, right? Most of the time, the lift is going to win it. I'll just take the lift. I'll just take the lift today. But before you know it, you've taken the lift 10 or 20 times in a row, right? One thing I didn't mention at the start, but I think it's really important, is that, look, not everyone is physically able to go upstairs, right? If that's you, I get it. This may not be the most applicable rule for you. But if we just zoom out for a minute, instead of getting bogged down with the actual rule itself, just use the ideas, use the principles. Go, okay, what is the state of my life? How comfortable am I? And where can I introduce discomfort in a way that appeals to me and in a way that I think I can stick to? And that's the uncomfortable thing to do, right? Throughout our whole evolution, we wanted to make things easier. In fact, I had this wonderful conversation with this Swedish psychiatrist, Dr. Anders Hansen, on my podcast, and he shared with me that our brain wants us to be lazy, anxious, and fat, right? It wants us to be anxious so that we can look out for danger, because that was really, really important. It also wants us to be lazy and fat. When food was there, when food was around, we'd eat it. In fact, we as humans have mechanisms to put on fat. That was a very helpful mechanism in the past. There's lots of food around, there's lots of fruit in the summer. Let's gorge on it, let's eat it, let's store those excess calories as fat so that we've got reserves of energy for the winter. But unfortunately, these days, that winter never comes. It wants us to conserve energy wherever we can. I mean, let's think about this modern invention, exercise. Now, there's very good reasons why we've invented it. But just imagine going to one of your ancestors 50,000 years ago and make the case to them why you would just go for a run for 10 kilometers and then come home without anything in your hands. I mean, you wouldn't do it. You wouldn't expend energy in that kind of way. You would conserve energy. You would go out running when you had to go on a hunt, right? You had to go and get something. That's how we're wired. So what we really need to do is put things into our life that help us navigate and counterbalance that natural instinct. That's why it's so important that we have our own personal rules for discomfort, right? I've shared one of mine, always take the stairs. It's such a powerful rule. I've shared that in companies, in schools, in all kinds of places. And it's very, very powerful because it changes your default. Now, physical inactivity is one of the leading causes of death across the entire planet. And if you think about that through the lens of comfort, life is more comfortable these days for most of us. I appreciate not everyone in the world, but for many of us, life has never been this materially comfortable. And therefore, if you don't have a practice, a regular system for bringing in discomfort, you're really going to struggle. I mentioned these diseases of discomfort. Let's take one of them, type 2 diabetes. Right, type 2 diabetes is a condition where our blood sugar starts to rise over a period of years, and we can no longer keep it down in its normal range. And because the blood sugar is high, it goes around the body, it gets deposited in different places, in our eyes, in our nerves, in our kidneys, and causes damage and also causes early death. Now, you could not really get type 2 diabetes in a world of discomfort. If you had to move your body each day to get food and then bring the food back and cook it, it's very unlikely you would develop a condition like type 2 diabetes, especially if the food that was available was natural, unprocessed whole foods, which is, of course, what it used to be. But in this world today, where we have highly processed food available 24 hours a day in many different places, right? Remember, we're wired to want to consume. And that's why I think so many people are struggling, because what we have to do today is work against our brain's natural instincts. So always take the stairs. Yes, it helps you physically, right? It helps you get physically stronger. You're moving your body weight against gravity. You work your quads, your glutes, your heart muscle, right? You're getting stronger physically. But I think these discomfort rules also do something very powerful psychologically, because you're choosing to take the uncomfortable option when a comfortable one is there for you. And I think that's something really, really powerful. It's showing your body and your brain who's boss. No, you're in charge. You're not going to be a victim to your brain's natural desires. You're going to take charge and go, no, I'm not going to do that, because that will not lead to me being healthy and happy. That will cause me problems. Another statistic which I find really alarming is when we think about our children today. There's a major study done. I think they've looked at over 25 million children in different countries, and they basically looked at how quickly they can run a mile. Now, remarkably, today, on average, it takes children 90 seconds longer to run a mile than it did in the 1980s. That is a staggering statistic. 90 seconds is a long time. So in just 40 or 50 years, our physical strength and fitness has dramatically gone down because life is much more comfortable. right? So you've got,
Hey, it's Cosmos.
right? So you've got to think about where can you bring this in. So I mentioned one, always take this as. I think it's a powerful rule. It's changed my life. It's changed the lives of many of my patients. I know it can change your life if you introduce it. But there's other rules we can think about, right? Think about discomforts. You can think about the cold. Many of us live in temperature-controlled houses, temperature-controlled cars on the way to work, and we don't have to face the cold anymore. And of course, there's a big trend these days about exposing yourself to cold water. Now, I don't think everyone has to do that. I don't think you have to do all of these rules. What I'm trying to do is give you options, right? One option could be, at the end of your daily warm shower, you do 30 seconds of cold. Okay? This may appeal to you, it may not appeal to you. There are some benefits reported in the literature for sure. Some studies have shown that people who take a 30-second cold shower each day at the end of their hot shower report less sick days over a 3-month period than those who don't. That's quite interesting. Are there effects there on our immune system? But again, I think the powerful benefits really are psychological. They're you choosing intentionally to do something uncomfortable when you don't have to. And I think that's where the gold is. I really do. You show yourself who's boss. You show yourself that you're resilient. You show yourself that you don't have to be at the whim of your brain's internal desires. You can override them. I think this is one of the main reasons why things like Tough Mudders, ultra marathons, wild swimming, wild camping, why these things are becoming more and more popular. Because I think we as humans instinctively know that this comfort, these comfortable lives are not good for us. Right? I'm not saying get rid of your comfort. We all like a warm house, a comfortable sofa. No, I'm saying enjoy that, indulge in it, but also make sure there's a bit of discomfort in your life. Yes, there are physical benefits. There are massive psychological benefits as well. It's really interesting. There were some studies done in Harvard a few years ago, and a group of people were shown a load of faces, and they were asked to identify the threatening faces, and they could do it no problem. But as the researchers gradually reduced the amount of threatening faces the people were shown, something incredible happened. They started to identify non-threatening faces as threatening. Now just think about that for a minute. The researchers called this prevalence-induced concept change. It's a really, really interesting idea that, in essence, we will start to create problems when problems don't exist. And I think that is kind of what happens to a lot of us these days with these comfortable lives. I'm not saying that people don't have tough lives and struggles. I'm not saying that. But a lot of the struggles are in our head these days. They're what we see online, what we perceive about the way other people think about us, the comparison we have when we look at other people on social media. We create all this internal stress. And what I found, and what I've experienced myself, is when I'm regularly doing hard things, the other things in my life that seem to be quite big, they go away. They don't take as much mental space up as they did. You'll hear this a lot from people, like people who didn't run and then they start running. They say, I'm less anxious, but I'm not worrying about all the things in my life like I used to, because they're actually doing things that really are difficult. And you're taking up a lot of that mental bandwidth by doing that difficult thing. And I think this is something a lot of people don't realize. I've certainly seen this in patients where if they're feeling low and sitting at home and not out there connecting with people and not out there moving their body and challenging themselves, their world starts to contract, right? They start to worry, overly worry. They start to ruminate. And yes, there are other factors that play a role for sure. But once you can encourage these patients to get out there, start challenging themselves, joining a club when they might initially feel a bit nervous, they overcome that. They feel good about themselves. Right? They feel more resilient. And then they get all the benefits of doing that thing with other people. Their mental health starts to improve. So I think this desire for comfort, while I understand it and while I accept it's who we are as humans, I think we all need to take a long, hard look at ourselves and go, how much discomfort is there in my life? How much intentional discomfort, and can I change it? So what are some of these other discomfort rules can we think about applying into our lives? Well, honestly, there are infinite things we can think about introducing, right? So it's about you figuring out what's going to work for you. All I'm trying to do is share some examples that might inspire you to either take them on or tweak them to make them more suitable for you. But here in the UK, for example, there's something called Parkrun. Parkrun is a community event. Most towns and villages in the UK now, and many places around the world also have Parkrun, where it's a Saturday morning event where people come together and they do 5 kilometers. I said do, I didn't say run, right? You complete 5 kilometers, either walking or running or a combination of both. And you can get timed, and Parkrun have a motto saying that no one ever comes last. They have a tail walker who's there at the back. So even the slowest person didn't come last. It's a wonderful, wonderful event. I started doing it with my kids a few years ago, and it has literally been life-changing. So how does that apply to discomfort rules? Well, it's very simple. If you live somewhere where there is a Parkrun every Saturday, you can make it a rule that you never miss it. Rain or shine, hot or cold, you're going to turn up there. Because here's the reality, once you get there, because of the community energy, you will complete those 5 kilometers. You just will. It's the way it works, the support, the volunteers. You just need to get yourself to the start line. Again, why is that a discomfort rule? Well, because the comfortable thing to do is to stay at home. Right? The comfortable thing to do is to stay in bed, or make another coffee, or have a nice, long, lazy brunch. And again, now and again, of course, there's nothing wrong with doing those things. But for me and my kids, we have a rule that we go to Parkrun. If we're here and we're not away, we go to Parkrun on a Saturday morning. And it's powerful because it removes decision making. I've realized this being a dad myself, right? If I leave it up to my kids to decide on a Saturday morning, do I feel like going? Well, you know what? A lot of the time we don't feel like going. It's cold, it's raining, it's a bit grey. But what I want to teach my kids is that you don't be a victim to your brain's desires. Because if we are, we're going to get sick. You have to tell your brain who's in charge. Right? So for some people, this is a very, very effective rule that helps them complete a 5K every Saturday. These discomfort rules are not only about the things that society conventionally think of as being hard, like taking the stairs, doing a parkrun, having a cold shower. There's other things that count as discomfort rules as well. What do many of us do in the evening? We might be watching Netflix and relaxing. And again, nothing wrong with these things. But think about this. At 10 p.m., you're on your sofa, you're yawning, you're tired, you know you have to be up tomorrow, but you keep watching. Why? A, the content's probably really good and stimulating you, but B, it's comfortable. The easiest thing in the world is just to stay there. The harder thing is to put the phone off, get up off the sofa, and get yourself to your bedroom. It's easier to stay where you are. Right, so you could have a discomfort rule around that. An example might be, in the week, you might want to have a rule that I'm never going to start a new episode after 9 p.m. Right, it's just a one-time rule, which means up until then, you're enjoying your box set, your series, whatever it might be, but it's 10 past 9. I'm really tempted. I'm not going to watch this. That's the uncomfortable thing to do. And what are the benefits? The benefits are that you're going to get to bed on time, you're going to sleep more, which is going to make you more resilient, you're going to crave less sugar and caffeine the following day, you'll have more energy, more focus, your short-term health will be better, your long-term health will be better. But it all started with a very simple discomfort rule. Now look, you don't have to follow this advice. These are only suggestions. You may go, 9 p.m. is too early. Fine, make it 10 p.m. The point I'm really trying to get across is the modern world has convinced us that comfort is our natural state of being, but it's not. You know, last year, I was on the train down to London from the northwest of England where I live. And the person I was with was trying to use the app in the train to order a bottle of water from the cafe in a different carriage. And you know what? The app wasn't working. And my friend got so annoyed it wasn't working. I thought about how mad this is as a situation. We're literally on a high-speed train, hurtling to one of the great capital cities of the world. And because that person has to get up, walk for 2 minutes to a cafe to buy a bottle of water, they were getting annoyed. Right? We become so reliant on comfort, we start to get agitated when that comfort's not there. The only way around that is to regularly practice discomfort. What you practice, you get good at. If you're practicing being comfortable all the time, you get really good at being comfortable and you get used to and accustomed to being comfortable. That's why I want you to think about where you can bring in discomfort into your life. Another discomfort rule you could think about applying in your life is to wake up and do 1 5-minute action for your health. And why is that a discomfort rule? To make sure you're taking action. It's a discomfort rule because you probably don't want to do it. You'd probably rather do something else. It's much easier to sit in bed, pick up your phone and scroll social media for 20 minutes and then read the news. Okay. But what is that going to do for you? How's that going to help you get primed for the day? What if you made a commitment to yourself that every morning when I wake up, I'm going to do 1 5-minute action for my health? It could be whatever you want. A workout, journaling, meditation, breath work, skipping, like anything you like. But again, it shows your brain who's in charge. It shows your brain that you don't have to be a victim to your brain's ancient desires. You can override them. And there's incredible power in doing that. It teaches you that you have autonomy. You are resilient. You can trust yourself. I have a morning routine that I do each morning. I've shared that on multiple occasions on this YouTube channel. But I think the power in doing something each morning is that it's uncomfortable. You get the uncomfortable win first thing in the morning, and that's what makes it so powerful. Another discomfort rule I've often used myself and with patients is to do with food. Many people these days are trying to change their diet. Okay, they're trying to eat more healthily, snack less on the unhealthy foods, but it can be a challenge. Again, like I've already mentioned, the brain is wired to eat food when it's around, especially sweet, delicious, high-calorie foods. So a rule you could put into your life to try and counteract that is this one. I'm never going to eat after 7 p.m. It's a simple rule that can be effective for some people because what kind of food decisions do we tend to make after 7 p.m. or late into the evening? For many of us, they tend to be the decisions that we wish we hadn't made, right? Maybe we start off the day really well with a healthy breakfast and we're good in the day, but sometimes we've had a stressful day, we're feeling tired, our ability to resist temptation is down at the end of the day, and people often go to sugar, to biscuits, to ice cream. Okay? Now, I get that. I don't want you to beat yourself up if that's you. All I'm saying is that you could apply a one-time rule. I'm not going to eat after 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. or whatever it is that's going to work for you to try and reduce that. It's a rule for discomfort that's going to make you healthier. Of course, that doesn't mean on occasion you might be out with your friends and have a dessert late. When I say a rule, like I said about the stairs, I don't take the stairs 100% of the time, but it's about 90 to 95% of the time. All of the rules I've suggested, I don't want you to necessarily take them verbatim and actually use them unless you want to. Just use the ideas, use the principles, go, okay, where can I introduce discomfort in a way that appeals to me and in a way that I think I can stick to? So have a think about what I've said. Right? Have a think about what I said about all these diseases of comfort. It's a different way to look at ill health, isn't it? But I think it's a very helpful way. And I've made some suggestions, right? You don't have to do them all. Pick one or pick two. Pick the ones that appeal to you or tweak them to make them more suitable to you in your life. Let me know in the comments which ones you're planning on doing and what you think of them. I genuinely would love to know. And whatever you plan on introducing into your life, always remember, pay attention. How is it making you feel? What improvements are you noticing? Because when you start to really get in tune with that, it gives you the motivation to keep going.
When you wrote Feel Better